What is going on, Nerd Paraders, and welcome to my settlement. If you've been following along the series, you'll notice that it has changed rather significantly. Holy crap, there's a lot going on. Well, I went down the rabbit hole of having fun building, which you can clearly see, but two, I see you, zombie, don't do it. Of two, really getting into the Rim World style aspect of the game and the automation process. Now, this is like a cornerstone of the game. I really didn't realize how important it was when I was first playing, but it is extremely important, and I'm going to talk to you a bit about how to do it for yourself, hopefully simplify it for you, and streamline it. It took me a while to kind of like tinker around and stumble my way through the system, but I'm really glad that I did because it's made life so much easier for me, and let's talk about it now. So, in here in our settlement area, we'll show off our settlers. You'll see that I have 5 settlers. Albert doesn't really count because he's the old man. He's the elder. He's just doing old man stuff and giving me quests. So we're going to like gloss over him. Archie, we have a farmer. King, he is a hunter. And Carl and Diane are both villagers. Carl was my very first villager. He wandered here to this island. I was like, hey, bro, would you like to join my settlement? And he was like, that sounds all right. I guess I'll do that. And he joined. It was great. We became really good friends. Carl, I put him in this house here, as you can tell by his orange hair. Carl, his first job, I made him a forester. This is, in my opinion, this was crucial. This allowed me to build to my heart's content freely without having to harvest wood for myself. And harvesting wood for yourself is painful. Getting stone is easy. You go down to the dungeon, you are picking away, it just happens naturally. But getting wood, it feels like a chore, like you gotta work for it. So I turned Carl, my very first villager, into a forester. The reason why is because if we check out Carl and the villagers, the 2 villagers really don't have a lot going on for them when it comes to their work priorities. They could do farming stuff, which is great. Forestry, they could craft, and they could haul. But if you want to fertilize crops, you need a farmer. If you want to hunt, you need a specific hunter. If you want to do animal husbandry or fishing, you need a rancher, or I think it's called an animal keeper, and an angler. I don't have either of those yet. That's restricted by game progress, and I haven't gotten that far enough into the game to unlock those, but I've gone ahead and built places for them to occupy. You see the sheep, and I'll show you more here in a bit. So, with that long-winded explanation, that is my current settlement of 5 villagers. Once I recruited Carl, I set him up to mainly specialize in forestry. I wanted him to go and chop down all the trees, plant saplings. I needed wood to make my village. So I set him as max priority forestry, and I restricted him. I made area 1. So in restriction, you can make areas that you can assign to villagers or settlers that they're only able to go to that spot that you designate. I did this so that he wouldn't wander too far. I could keep his pathing more or less optimized, and he would just harvest. So I made the area 1 forester. And as you can see now, it's currently highlighted in green. It's a little dark outside, but this is the only area that the forester can go to. All the way up here as well, which I'll explain in just a minute, but that's where his area ends. This over here on the side is a little dark, but it's my very OCD-friendly forest, which I'll show off a little bit more as it's daytime. I have all my saplings between oak and spruce, and they grow, and he chops them down. It's great. He generates a ton of wood. I'll show that off too. But this was my first zone, and I restricted him. His job is to go chop wood and do literally nothing else. When he chops his wood, he will come and store it in 2 locations. One in this ranch house here, because I had built a carpenter bench, so that I could use the wood stuff here. And he will store this in any storage chest that you put down. But if you want to specify it, if you want to get like really surgical with your automation, you're going to have to configure this storage. So oh, there he goes. He's chopping now. I'll show that off. I went through here and I disabled everything except for logs. 2 logs, oak and spruce. Nothing else will go into this storage chest. Only somebody who's carrying logs will deposit here. And I've got a maximum of 2,500 in this specific chest. The second place that he will depot is up here, which I don't have this villager or settler yet. It is my blacksmithing area. So he's been depoting a lot up here, and I do forging stuff in this general area. So instead, the crucial mistake that I made in the beginning is making one room that housed all of my crafting devices. And that's not really how you should play it. You need to make a village and then go throughout the village and have like specific areas for it. If you pigeonhole yourself into just having like a main crafter room, it's going to end up working in your detriment. So I figured that out. It took me a little while, but I got there. This is the foresting area. All he does is chop and plant, and it regrows, and he keeps me flush with wood. You'll notice that he's coming over here to the farm area. That's because our villagers need to eat. So we've got food being made. Food's being crafted by our farmers. They deposit the food into here, and everybody who is in the village will come to this area, grab food, and keep their happiness relatively high by eating. Since we're talking about happiness, I know this is a lot of information coming at you. Since we're talking about happiness, happiness is affected. Like, you could talk to your villager. We'll talk to Carl while he's chopping. Carl, what's up, buddy? You could continue to hold those fine. How are you feeling? I feel extremely happy. I ate a gourmet meal. I live in an enormous size room. That's the important part. That's what I want to show you. The size of the room matters. Size matters. Apparently, size of the room matters when it comes to their happiness. And furniture. So, once I kind of figured out that this all impacted happiness, I gave each villager a pretty decent room, each settler a pretty decent room with some good furnishings in it that seemed to make them happy. I even made each of them little bathrooms. There's a toilet and a bathtub in here, for God's sake. I really went all out and had a lot of fun doing it. And Carl, the MVP, who's gathering wood for me passively, kind of made it all happen, because even though that toilet is very likely to give you splinters, it is made out of wood. Use at your own risk. Anyway, moving right along, the next area that I set up was for the Elder, honestly. I got tired of the Elder wandering around doing old man things. The guy has dementia. He can't be trusted. He's supposed to give me quests, but I didn't want him in places that I couldn't necessarily find him, so I limited him. The neat thing is he will like kind of fight zombies off in the middle of the night, or if your village gets raided, he'll try to attack. But I wanted to keep him in a very centralized location. He doesn't have a happiness meter. It doesn't matter where he lives, and he doesn't require any food. So he might be some form of supernatural being. I'm not sure. But I limited the Elder so he wouldn't go far, and I could continue to find him whenever I needed to get quests or turn in quests. The third area that we have built is our ranch. Now, I haven't progressed far enough into the game yet to unlock the rancher. I know where they're at. I could find them. They just don't want to join my settlement yet because I'm not advanced far enough. So, I have pre-built the ranch. I'm using it to kind of collect wool and leather and all that stuff by hand, by myself, manually. But it's set up for when I can eventually get my ranchers to breed the animals and do all that stuff for me. Now, it's really easy to tame animals. You get a rope, you tie the rope around the animal, and you walk it to the area that you want, and then you pin it in. It's like, oh, hey, he's yours now. Really easy to tame the animals, and I just have this ready to go. You'll see that the area is encompassing anywhere that's got a chest that they might need to deposit stuff that we were talking about earlier, and they can get access to food. This one, the farm. I was a little late on the farm. This honestly should probably be your second area, but I was a little late on discovering the farm because the farm is so important. These guys will craft food for me and my villagers for me. But I had to make sure that it was set up properly, and this should really be your second thing. So this is the farm that I have set up. It's pretty good. It's really all that I need, to be honest with you. This up here is wheat, corn, tomatoes. We got blueberries here. They don't have it mirrored. Tomatoes, corn, and wheat again. And then I have things kind of like mixing up. That's carrot, eggplants, this is cabbage, all the seeds that I've discovered so far, and room for more that I discover later. And then we have some of the mills that'll turn like wheat into... This is sugar. This turns the sugar... These are called sugar beets. It turns sugar beets into sugar, which you can cook with. And then in here, we have wheat that can go into flour. So if I have excess wheat, my homies here will take that wheat and put it into here because I've configured it and added a recipe. This is really important if you want to have them auto craft for you other things. So make sure you're going into that little configure cog menu. You can add a recipe, select it. In this case, we'll go with flour again. Add flour. It says do one time, or we can configure that do until X, or just do forever. I always set everything to do until a specific number. And in this specific number, I have 200. There's crafting it now. Great. We'll cancel that. I think he might have done it just because I put the new recipe on there. I believe I have 200 wheat or flour, so I think he stopped. Let me check my ingredients chest where he depots. And we have a lot. We have 60 in there. Ingredients 2. And then overflow for ingredients 3. Oh, yeah. We definitely have over 200. Whoops. Oh, I've done a terrible thing. We definitely have over the 200 flour. So he stopped his crafting. Did any of that go into my lunchbox? Oh, it did. All of it did. I'm a bad farmer. Okay, let's put all that stuff back in there. We don't want this in our lunchbox. We want the ingredients there for them to cook. So, I've set it up. A long walk for a short drink of water. I set it up to go to a certain amount, and in that amount, they stop after they reach it, as you've seen. I have 3 compost bins. This is what makes fertilizer. And this is why I needed a farmer. So let's talk about that. Here's our settlers again. We have Archie the farmer and Diane the villager. Diane the villager was my first original farmer. She was out there harvesting crops for me, making sure I and my villagers were fed. It was great. But if we go over to work priorities, Diane does not have the ability to make fertilizer. Or actually, she does. I take that back. Diane does have the ability to make fertilizer. She doesn't have the ability to fertilize the crops, so she won't use fertilizer on the crops. Now, you don't need it. Fertilizer just allows the crops if it's used to grow faster. It's a nice thing. It's not a mandatory thing. It's just a nice thing. It's a quality of life thing. But I wanted it. I wanted that option available. And having 2 farmers means that the crops get harvested twice as fast. So I have Diane, who's doing most of the farming, gathering, and then at this point now she's been repositioned into crafting. So she's like my cook. She cooks all the stuff that Archie the farmer farms. And then he makes fertilizer and does his thing for it. So this is why I say that this is important to set up for probably your second area. And again, if you want them to do the specific things, you're gonna let's go to my ingredients chest here. I have this labeled. Go to configure. So now that we have this configured, everything on this is more or less disabled except for consumables and raw food. So anything that would be considered an ingredient is the only thing that can go in there. So they have very quick and easy access to this chest. They put the ingredients there, and then if and when they feel like it, they will come over here to the cooking pot, and I have all the recipes set up like I just showed you to currently make in the cooking pot. I only have recipes that I can actively make at the moment implemented, but there's a bunch of recipes, like as you can see here. And once we get the stuff, we can add more recipes in there. And if we want to further increase our villagers' happinesses, we can go over here to diet. Diet is really important because we could change the diet of the villager, and we could say, simple meals are not good enough for you. You are not allowed to eat any simple meals. Also, those would be my ingredients. I don't want them eating my ingredients. You can only eat fine or gourmet meals, and then you could tell them exactly what it is that you would like them to consume. They get a happiness bonus at fine. They get a big happiness bonus at gourmet. So we could basically eventually tell our villagers to only eat gourmet meals, and then they're going to be super happy all the time because they have really great houses, really good furnishing, and really good meals. They're never going to want to leave our settlement. Talking again about our areas, the farm, or our farmers, are restricted to this yellow area. So this is the only place that they will wander. That's the only place they can go. I have them coming down here so they can harvest the apple trees when they eventually grow apples. I don't have a lot of them. They compass the entire farm. They get the mills and the compost bins. And then I have the house here as well. This is Diane's house. This is Archie's house. They're allowed to go in that area. And you know what? I built Diane a porch, and I'm not even allowing her to go over there. I feel bad. So let's expand this. But now Diane could go out on her porch. And it actually might save some time because she can go out here and then down here and get to the farm quicker. So I'm improving the area as we go on the fly. And if I need the farmers to store something in a different place, let's say like in the ranch, over here, the cow ranch, I can expand that later on and give them access to a chest. Or coming up here to the blacksmith, and then this one on the right will eventually be the gunsmith. If I need them to come up here and depot or take something from there, they will have access to it. The reason why I have the farmers the access to come over here in this area, in this ranch, is for this chest right here, the wood chest, so they can get wood and put it in the cooker if the cooker runs out of wood. Now finally, my last area is the smithy, and very similar to the ranch, it's pre-set up. I don't have the ability to recruit a blacksmith or a gunsmith yet, but when I do, this is going to be the area that they're restricted to. I am going to need to, and I'll do this right now with you, I'm going to need to configure this. We're going to increase it here. Let's just increase it all the way out here, actually. We'll give them access to this whole road. And down here as well. And I got stuck on the carpenter's bench, and out here too. And we need to take this all the way down to our kitchen of sorts. I want my guys to be able to eat. So now, anybody who's working at the smithy could come here and get the food that they need and not starve to death and be super duper happy. And it's just that, I mean, it's really just that easy to manage the areas. Now, if we want to restrict our areas to specific villagers, you come back into the restrict menu, and let's take King, for example. King is my hunter. He is unrestricted. He can wander the entire island, so he can hunt, do his thing. I would just click here and say, I want you to be in any of these, but we're going to leave him as unrestricted. If we wanted him to be a defender, you can get guards to defend your village. It's one of the things. I will plan to build a barracks at some point for the guards. You could set up a defend zone, which we're going to need to expand on this. You can set it to kind of like automatically expand, but it seems to just encompass the core of your village. I really don't know what the parameters are to cause it to expand automatically, but you can eventually set this to cover everything. Like here, we'll extend it a little bit too, just to show you. There, we extended it on the side. You could set guards to only patrol the defend zone, which is a kind of like an automatically established zone that you have. This is more or less all the things that I've kind of figured out, tinkering around and building my settlement up to learn about the system. We have one final tab, and this is a very important tab. This is the Assign Work tab. Now, this tab, you'll notice a lot of things are kind of like similar yet different. We'll talk about this. We'll start at the bottom, work our way up. This green zone is the fertilized zone. I produce a ton of corn, a ton of tomatoes. I don't know if you could even fertilize blueberries, but I don't need to fertilize this. So in order to save fertilizer, I have Archie, the only person that can fertilize, only fertilizing this area. I don't need to fertilize the water, but I have it selected. Let's back out of that. Go back to assign work, and you'll see the workstations, for example, have a little pick on them, and the chests have a little chest marker on them. You can disable any chests or any workstation from being utilized by your settlers, as you might be able to see kind of down here. So this one chest can be used by my settlers. It's ammo, and if the hunter, like these arrows on the ground, for example, if the hunter is out and about, or anybody's out and about, and they happen to pick something up, and they need to store it, like pick up arrows because they drop like freaking candy at a parade, a nerd parade. You can put them here in this ammo chest, so I have it enabled. These other chests are my chests for like depoting random crap, so I have them disabled. I don't want them messing with those. Let's go like this cooking station. This one is designated to only. It's like a spit roast. It's only designated to cook rabbit legs because you can't cook those in the pot. But if we come up here, I don't know if I have any others placed, but yeah, so like this chest is disabled. Let's for the purpose of showing this off, let's go to a workstation and let's select here this carpentry bench. You could have the settlers make anything on the bench as long as you set up the recipe for it. But in this case, I don't want them to do that. At least not yet. So I have all of my other stations disabled. Another good one would be the forge, for example. I could add recipes and they would automatically make ore into an ingot for me. Say, for example, I have a bunch of copper ore laying around and they're going to turn that automatically into ingots for me. That would be really great if there is a miner in the game, which I don't believe that there is, at least not yet. So, since that is non-existent at the moment, or at least it's non-existent for me, I haven't set anything up like that, but it could be really, really important. Now I'm going to disable this because I don't want them to mess around with the carpentry station. We'll go back into our assign work, and we'll talk about the husbandry zone, which is pre-set up. I don't have the rancher yet, but this is one of the more, I think, really only modifiable zones. So I have a husbandry zone set up for cows, and a husbandry zone, God, that's hard to say, husbandry zone set up for sheep. If we configure this, this is so far the only configurable zone. The rancher will automatically kill any sheep in this area over 10. So if an 11th sheep is born, he will kill off one of the adult sheeps and will take that mutton and resources and store it. So 10 is the magic number. Now I'm well over 10 because I don't have a rancher killing anything, but this one is also same, 10 cows. Leather, beef, anything over 10 gets auto slaughtered. That's going to be really, really nice once I eventually get a frickin' rancher. Not quite there yet, but we'll work our way to it. The forestry zone, extremely important. We need to set up this forestry zone. It's encompassing this area right here. And anything in this area, I can even shrink it. Let me shrink this because I don't need it to be that big. Anything in this area will be forested. There we go. And one more. This is really, really important for your forester that you set up because you have to designate where are you telling him or her to harvest the trees. Very, very, very important. And then assigning the storage is the same thing as assigning a workstation, only for storage. So forestry zone, husbandry zone, and fertile zone or fertilized zone is your automation bread and butter for the main jobs that you're going to have in your community. Once these zones are set up, once you have done all the other things I've talked about, you've got your settlers, you've got them happy, you've got a place for them to depot, you got a place for them to go and get food, their AI is going to take over, kick in, and slowly but surely, you're going to be able to automate your entire process. So now that we have gotten this far into the settlement, I'll show it off to you, since I haven't really had the chance to show it off to you. This I plan on turning into maybe like an angler's house, because I've got the little pier set up where the guy could fish. This is our elder's house. We haven't done much to it. We've just furnished it. This is kind of like default as we spawned in on the seed of the map. The farm, I really love the farm. I had a ton of fun making the farm. I just tried to make it as aesthetically pleasing as possible. Had some fun making this little house for our farmer, Diane, with a little balcony here. Balcony or porch? I think it's more of a porch because balcony means like it's kind of up. Our beautiful ranch. This is the hunter's house, the hunter's shack. He's got a little patio or screw it, balcony, whatever, what have you, and he can roam around the entire map killing stuff. And then my dueling forges, essentially, one for a blacksmith, one for a gunsmith, who I don't have yet. Hunter's doing his thing over there. They're ready to move in. This is the settlement so far. This is the Nerd Parade settlement. And some of the things that I want to build, I need to build a enchanter's area, like something fit for a wizard. A lot of bookshelves, maybe. A barracks for guards. Something kind of like military looking. Maybe not as, the house is maybe not as grandiose as what I have, but all maybe kind of falling into a line of sort. Like, here's a room, here's a room, here's a room, all connected into one, like, larger structure. What else am I? Oh, an alchemist. I don't know if I said alchemist yet or not, but I can recruit an alchemist, and he's gonna need an alchemy table in his area. I might put him next to some water or something like that. But I'm going to be expanding the settlement a little bit more the more that I can recruit. Unfortunately, I can't recruit anymore yet until I complete some more quests and advance the game. And I think the key is killing the bosses. Elder is telling me where to go. He's telling me go to the snow biome and get some spider legs and go to the spider caves and then come back to me, which I have yet to do because I got all wrapped up in building an amazing settlement and figuring out the automation process. But I did make progress at the same time.